Well, here we are exploring some heaven and earth at Hemel and Arda Stud for another edition of Taking the Reins, and I've really been excited to do this edition of Taking the Reins because we've had Marsh Shirtliff in our minds for quite a while and preparing to sit down with him and speak to him about his life and racing, his life in general, and also about some wonderful stories. And we finally got the time and place, and what a place to do it. Marsh, thank you so much for your time. Really looking forward to the next hour or so chatting about your life and your time in racing. But geez, what a setup this is.
Yeah, it's great being here and having you guys here.
Let's chat a little bit about young Marsh, early days. Are you Cape Townian, born and bred?
Yes, I'm a Cape Townian. Grew up in the northern suburbs. I went to school in Bellville High. I graduated as a medical technologist after school, and then went into sales and business thereafter.
What about your various aspects in business? Because you're obviously a busy man for a long time, growing Marsh Shirtliff and your various brands. What was your sort of real breakthrough as far as business is concerned?
I had a sales flair, I think, and I probably got it from my mom, who was in fashion and ran a big boutique. And as a young schoolboy, I sold clothes for various boutiques, and I don't know. So, having worked in the labs and done a bit of administration in the labs as well, I was very well mentored at blood transfusion in Cape Town, Western Province Blood Transfusion. I then got into sales. I thought I'd enjoy it, and I didn't have many jobs, and I found myself opening a company called Motorite eventually, and that was the basis of my true business career. Motorite was sold about 9 years ago to R&B and Hollard, who Hollard now own it 100%. But during the Motorite era, we opened a further company called Infinity Insurance, which I maintain a substantial share in. So that's more on the business side of things.
But you've always been a sort of keen, competitive sports fan, sportsman. Those competitive juices, have they just always flowed with you?
Yeah, well, it probably goes back to school. I used to do athletics and play rugby at school. I sort of gave it up to work because I worked on Fridays and Saturdays over the weekend. So that was the end of my high school rugby career, which I was very sad about. But I maintained my athletics, and I did run for province probably every year. Played a lot of baseball because I could play senior baseball as a junior, and we played on a Saturday afternoon. So yes, and then racing. I know that's the next question.
100%.
So yeah, I think from the age of about 70 years ago, I was riding the couch, and I always remember listening to a very good friend and racing fanatic, Deacon. He always mentioned that he was always riding the couch as well, so I wasn't the only one. And my uncle had horses, and my dad worked with Dennis Dryer's mum, and my dad used to bring home stories. He wasn't a racing man, but he used to bring home stories of racing, of Sid Laird's famous horses, Colorado King. At the time, I was probably only about 12 then, maybe 13. And I was fascinated, my uncle having had horses, and I remember horses way back to the 55 Tiger Fish Irradiate my uncle owned, and all those great horses, Excise. And so I suppose it just developed for me, and it's always been with me, yeah.
Was it quite an intimidating step? Because we talk about attracting new owners into racing and bringing in new blood. Was it quite an intimidating step for you to get involved in ownership and sort of taking that jump to owning racehorses, or was it a natural sort of progression, the fact that your family had ties in the sport before?
My dad had connections, but he wasn't particularly a racing man. I loved horses, and I had friends who had horses and rode and evented. So yeah, for me, I always had aspirations of having a decent racehorse. But I held out for quite a while because I have a belief if you're going to do something, do it well and stick to it and have continuity in what you're doing. So I was invited into a number of even decent horses back in the day, and I turned the invites down just in case I couldn't go through with it financially. And eventually when I did, Greg Inion was my first trainer, and I was introduced to Greg, and he showed me a few colours, and I chose my colours, and that was that. And that was 30 odd years ago in the early 90s.
Any reason why you went with blue and white halved horizontally with the pink sleeves?
I think it's a well-known story, but it's not really the story. I always say it's blue for the boys, pink for the girls, and white for those work folk who want to be anything they want.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So I'll tell you what struck me, Marsh, is that during COVID times, obviously we weren't able to watch any racing, and a YouTube channel run by Byron Foster, who works for Platinum Racing down in Durban, sort of all those recollections of great races and great horses from the 90s. And I was watching a Cape Guineas from Milnerton, and I saw your colours there, and I didn't actually realise that you'd been in the game for as long as you have. Roughly how long have you actually been in the sport?
As I said, I've been riding the couch since I was 6. That's almost 70 years ago. And I was punting as a schoolboy, probably before, at the age of 11, I used to send the gardener down to the tote with, we had pounds, shillings and pence in those days. And he'd go have a little bet for both of us, take my bicycle. And then the ownership came about 91, 92, was with Greg, and my first decent horse was Stage Acclaim. I think it was probably my first horse. And he ran, I think, 5th or 6th in the Guineas and 5th in the Derby. So that set the tone, and it wasn't long, and Greg bought us a horse because Greg's got a very good eye for horse, and he gets value, and he's a value trainer, and I'm still got a number of horses with Greg. He bought a horse called La Mancha. He was
I think that was the horse that I saw in the video.
Fair season, yeah, the stallion. And he won the Matcham and he won the nursery. I was playing rugby on the day, I remember. I didn't go down to watch the nursery, and he wasn't expected to win, but you know, he had a chance, and I think he won it 10-1. It was my first graded winner. We won the Matcham with him. He came second in the mainstay. I think Terence's horse Marisco got away from us, and we just couldn't get to him. But it was, I think Felix rode Marisco that day, and a great ride from him. But I still think we deserved to win it. But you know, that's racing. We win some like that, and we lose some.
100%. Before we get into that amazing time in the late noughties, what about that spell between, you know, those champions that suddenly turned up? You know, was it a difficult sort of spell? Was it one where you turned around and said, well, you know, maybe I'm not having the success that I wanted? Did you even potentially take a break before the big names that we'll talk about in a moment popped into your life? I
had a lot of horses spread around during the 90s, and I was down to like a 6-7% average, and we were spending fair money on our horses. It's not like, you know, we were buying cheapies or anything, and I've got nothing against cheapies, but, you know, I mean, the top horses come from the middle range, we all know that. So I analysed everything, and I said to myself, either you're going to punt or you're going to race constructively now. You've got to do something. So I approached Mike Bass. I said, look, I want to get real serious about my racing. You've got no big owners, and, you know, I'd like you to train some horses for me. And of course, Mike, the gentleman that he is, he said for sure. And that very day we got cracking and chose a top horse. I chose it, not knowing that I wanted to buy it. And a horse called To Be or Not to Be. And someone said to me, you can't buy that horse because the ox are going to knock in the running. And I told Mike he bought a horse that the ox aren't too hot, and he took off and he came back and he said, no, I see what you mean, but not a problem. I said, well, who did you buy it for? It was 60 grand, because I think it's the nicest horse on sale. And he said, well, it's for stock. I said, I'll take that, thank you very much. And that was the beginning of our relationship. And everybody knows where that went. I mean, I still believe, as do a few of my friends, they say he's the best trainer ever. And sure, he was certainly for me the best trainer ever. And we went from strength to strength. And, you know, after that, to be or not to be, won the Cape Flying, I said, now we need a classic horse. And that year, it was actually before. And that year we bought Pocket Power, Float Your Boat. The next year we bought River Jetes. And so it went on, and there were a lot of other seriously good horses, you know, and I can mention them all. But those were the top ones, and the contemporary 2 River Jetes, of course, was Sunclass. And in the same year, of course, I got lucky, and Mike and I almost bought JPEG, but Basil ended up buying it, and I managed to get invited into the horse. Well, Basil Marcus was always going to buy a horse for me, but he wanted to spread it over 3 horses with Etienne and Paul Looms and his brother. And so I said, I'm just happy to be in a spread rather. And of course, the colours were spread as well, and JPEG's colours fell to me. And if anybody asks you, you know, in that era, a very well-known racing personality said to me, after winning the second group race, for the second Met in a row, 2 Group 1s, 2 Mets in a row, one of the luminaries said to me, geez, Marsh, can't you give anybody else a chance? I think that year we won the top 4 3-year-old races, the Guineas and the Derby included, of course. And we won the Queen's Plate and the Met with Pocket Power. So, I mean, we virtually cleaned up the whole Cape calendar, you know. And it was getting embarrassing, you know. And they weren't necessarily expensive horses, and yeah, it just went from strength to strength. If you ask anybody, they'll tell you, even till today in South Africa, they reckon I'm the luckiest owner. I've had a very bad 2020 on, but the 2 prior decades, I couldn't put a foot wrong. And I'm sweating at present and had to reassess. So we've done a few things differently now. And we hope we pick up some winners again. I haven't had too many graded winners in the last few years, but we'll get there.
Don't apologize for that success, because I bet you when you bought your first horse, you were dreaming of the Pocket Powers and the JPEGs. But let's talk about the ride that Pocket Power ultimately took you on. All the Mets, the dead heats in the July, the King's Plates, and just the fact that he became that people's horse. I mean, he even had a mascot that traveled all around the country with him. You know, he was the flag bearer of South African racing for about 5 years. As you say, he could never put a foot wrong. And then just from a personal point of view, the day that he did put a foot wrong, the stable companion, the younger sister, who of course you own famously, won the Met. But just talking about Pocket Power, just your recollections of that unbelievable ride that he took you on personally.
Well, to be quite honest, I was punch drunk. I never knew where I was with him. And he was a real enigma. He was a gawky horse. He was a champion.
River Jetes comes into the lead. Here's Pocket Power running on. River Jetes, Dancer's Daughter's coming on powerfully. Pocket Power and Dancer's Daughter. Pocket Power, Dancer's Daughter. Pocket Power, Dancer's Daughter. Pocket Power.
He did weird things and he had strange quirks.
And he did it his way in running as well. You'd
absolutely
almost give you a heart attack where he came from.
Terrible. It was terrible. Yeah. He almost picked up the Gold Challenge, and Bernie got just blocked behind, I can't recall the horse, and Bernie split second, switching left to right, cost us the race because he flew and he couldn't quite get to Chris van Niekerk's horse. what was it? I think
Successful
buy and
bidder?
sell or something.
One of them.
Could have been. Could have been. And yeah, so he would have had another one. He would have had 10 graded Group 1s. Yeah, I think he won 15 or 16 group races, won 20 races. No, it was an amazing ride. As I said, I didn't back him much. He was always pretty short, and I mean, the stakes and the races that he ran were so good. Yeah, so it was always a case of just praying he'd live up to his reputation.
Did Mark Bass tell you from day one that there was something special about Pocket Power, or was it sort of a gradual build that, okay, after this 3-year-old campaign, you knew that you were onto a good thing, or was it well before that your ears were pricked and you kind of knew that he was special?
From the day we bought him.
Okay.
I actually took Mike to show him Pocket Power. Someone had tipped me, late Terry Silcock. And Mike, very nice horse. And Mike doesn't give much away. And just before the horse came up, about 20 lots, he said, whatever you do, don't miss that. And when he went into training, Mike kept saying, this horse is special. He took a while to win. Yeah. Pretty much like Marino Resco, also took a while to win.
Now Pocket Power's in full cry in the centre, and Pocket Power's launching his attack, and he's flying on by, and Pocket Power has come forward. African appeal down towards the inside is danger. Pocket Power though's going on well, and Pocket Power the favourite, gonna win the Met, gonna be tight for second, Lion Tamer. Here comes Pocket Power in the centre of the course, and the champion won't be denied. Pocket Power has slipped into the lead close-up. He's going on too strongly. Pocket Power, the true champion, has come away to win from our giant.
When they came through, they delivered. They delivered in spades. And yeah, fond memories.
River Jet Pocket Power competing the lineup. River Jet is coming home late, but Pocket Power is out in front. He's trying to rewrite history, and Pocket Power goes on to win.
He's buried here next to JPEG. They face each other on the farm. He was just so special, yeah.
Let's talk about JPEG and his globe-trotting exploits. I mean, he was a unbelievably gutsy horse. We talk about great rides. Anton Marcus's ride on JPEG was something to behold, but you can ride a horse like Superman, to excuse the pun using Anton, but you also need the horse that's willing to do that. You know, he is the epitome of a war horse, wasn't he?
He's an absolute war horse, a street fighter. He was a street fighter.
Time and look at Ballius. Ballius is starting a charge. JPEG is in front of Recast. In third position is Shirtliff, but JPEG wins the cup.
He'd take up the running.
Gates Fly racing in the Dubai duty free.
Wait for them to come at him.
South Africa's JPEG came out running and goes looking for the lead.
And then he'd shake them apart.
Judge and JPEG in front. Floral Pegasus second. Seat Change gets room on the rail. Vodka Deeper out. Dargina behind them. Then Archer Penko and Bullish Luck taken to the outside. 300 metres left to go. JPEG under pressure. Vodka joins in. Dargina gets a run through in the centre. Seat Change on the rail with Floral Pegasus. Floral Pegasus, Seat Change, Dargina. JPEG, Vodka on the outside. Dargina just in front. JPEG kicking again. JPEG and Dargina. JPEG the outside. JPEG foot back to beat Dargina.
And that's the memories of Anton's ride. Wow. Till this day, I've never seen a ride like that, and I don't think I ever will again. What he did that day, at that level.
And that's JPEG. And as you can see, as you were saying, that saddle is just causing Anton Marcus some real
gone over the line.
Some real, look at him just hanging on for dear life past the line.
I've seen some amazing rides where jockeys have actually fallen off the horse and just about jumped back on it and won the race, and horses down their knees. But in that quality grade of race, surely that must be the best.
Anton, that was very dramatic. What's been happening with your tack?
Yeah, my saddle slipped badly inside the final 250, you know. My biggest concern was actually staying on. But it hasn't setting yet, but it will.
Well done.
Thank you.
Still the highest earner highest South African bred earner, isn't he?
Is. In today's terms, he would have earned about 90 million rand, today's dollar exchange. Yeah, it's scary if you think about it. Well, he was a hell of a horse, but he couldn't sustain himself for another year or two. Not like Pocket. He went on and on.
What about Float Your Boat? Because he was also part of the same era, and he kind of gets forgotten when we talk about JPEG and Pocket Power. We're going to get to River Jitez and Marinaresco in a moment, but Float Your Boat was also just a likeable trier, gave of his best, and probably overachieved, dare I say.
Yeah. I recall buying him at the Nationals. I just liked his name and I liked his pedigree very much, and Mike took one look at him and said, tough horse, head like a suitcase. If it wasn't for Pocket Power, he'd have probably won a number of grade ones. He did win the Derby on default. He won on objection, and he was always second or third to Pocket. Very sad in a way, but he was a top horse, and yeah, we had a lot of fun. But he was certainly, the same year as Pocket, and he certainly lived in his shadow.
What about River Jitez now? I mean, I don't want to start with probably the most bittersweet day of your racing career when River Jitez turned over Pocket Power.
Spitting blood.
That's an incredible story in itself. I mean,
Did you hear about?
Where did that come from?
Well, River came on the 2-year-old sale and was a full sister to Pocket, as you know. And I just said to Mike, I wasn't at the sale, I said, Mike, just buy her. Mike said, yeah, she's okay. She's tall, lanky, blanky. I said, let's just buy her. We paid more for her than we paid for Pocket. He hadn't exactly proved himself yet. He was then a 3-year-old, and he'd hardly run, actually. So there was none to go on, but she unfortunately lived in Sunclass's shadow. And I mean, to me, Sunclass in that era was possibly the best filly in the world, I mean that she's probably on a par with Ouija Board at that stage. And
did she not beat Ouija Board in Dubai?
I think she did. Yeah. Oh, that was incredible. That day in Dubai, both JPEG and Sunclass, and I think we had another horse win the Derby for Mike de Kock, if I'm not mistaken. What a day. Yeah. It just one after the other. The Aussies, I said to them, watch Sunclass win now.
Sunclass in front, still more than a length. Viva Bataka's trying, the poster's looming up. It's Sunclass, it's another one for South Africa.
After JPEG had won, they said, no, come on. I said, yes, watch. And they came to me afterwards, they said, we can't believe your horses, but she was an Aussie horse, actually. But yeah, River Jitez, she was very special the day she won the Met.
How is Marsh Shirtliff feeling, considering that Pocket Power didn't win, but River Jitez has?
When she won, I was actually disappointed. I was hoping a Pocket would equal the horse that won the King's Cup in the UK and win 4 graded Group 1s of that stature. He only ran 3rd or 4th that day, I think. And I was actually afterwards, I realized, don't be a prick. And, I've got partners in this horse as well.
Yeah, well, we're over the moon, Vaughan. I'll tell you, she's always lived in his shadow. And, she's not quite as good as him, let's face facts, he's the champ. Coming up the straight, I saw Pocket again, sort of taking time to get going, and I turned around to Corin and I said, it's not going to happen. But then I saw Fort Vogue and River Jitez coming with this run, and I thought, oh well, here she comes, and I just knew Pocket wasn't going to get to her. But it's just an incredible 1, 2, 3, and I think all credit must go to Mike and his team.
So obviously I was thrilled that she won, and then she took off and went to Dubai. And I remember, I think Mike thought, we'll take the old girl along, Mike de Kock, and see what we can do, give her a last little payday, not expecting much. But she turned out to be his best horse that year. She won a good race there, and she came second in Singapore. she came second in the duty free, the ones that JPEG had both won. So yeah, and then we had a hell of a ride with her. We went to Hong Kong with her, where she ran 5th. And then we went to the Beverly D in Chicago. I mean, we attended all these races. And it was just incredible to be in America and watch her run there. She ran 3rd, and a very incredible 3rd. She got bitten to pieces by the mosquitoes just that week. So she was full of urticaria, and she did well in the circumstances. And then we brought her back, and she's thrown a Group 1. So yeah, she was a incredible iron horse, tough mare.
I want to give Sunclass just a little bit more attention as well. Australian bred, as you mentioned, part owned by Lionel Cohen.
Yes.
How did that all come about? Was that sort of your first foray into international bloodstock?
Warren Rippon, and what happened is he imported her and didn't get his price for her sale, couldn't even get 100 for her.
Really?
So they kept her. And look what happened. They also made 50, 60 million at the conversion today, rand with her. And yeah, she was a serious horse. Stood over a lot of ground, and you wouldn't have thought she could run, but by God, she could run. Not your really classic looking horse, but she could run.
Marinaresco gave Candice Bass-Robinson her first Jalal winner, Hollywoodbets Durban Jalal winner, and so becoming the first female trainer to train a Jalal winner. I remember Marinaresco barely look over the barn door, and that 3-year-old campaign, of course he won the Jalal as a 4-year-old, but as a 3-year-old, it was almost a masterstroke keeping him here in Cape Town for the winter series.
Yeah.
And he split tall before him, and all of a sudden he was on the float to Durban as a 3-year-old, got touched off, and then carrying top weight a year later under Bernard Faderhead, winning the Hollywoodbets Durban Jalal.
Yes.
That must have been quite a special sequence. Did he kind of spring up on you, the fact that he was built a little bit differently, small horse, but just had a heart of gold?
Okay, we bought him at Nationals. Mike said he loved this horse and we should buy him. I looked at him and I thought he was a bit small, and I said as much to Mike. Mike said, don't worry about that. Look at his conformation. Beautiful conformation. So, you know, with Mike, we always sit together at sales and chat and buy. And the horse came up. 800, Mike said, no more. I said, no, Mike, you want the horse. I've utmost faith in you. Great eye for horse. I can argue with the master. I'll call him the wizard. Horse goes, million, 1.2, 1.3. Now, bearing in mind this is a few years ago. Mike is just about taken off and gone somewhere else, and we got him at 1.3. And yeah, we put him in the winter series. He didn't start too well. He took a few races to win, but he put his act together and he won the first leg of the winter series, the second comfortably. And I thought, well, yeah, we're going to emanate a prior was Pocket Power that won the winter series. And Mike said, no, we're going to forego the last leg. We're going to Durban. We're going to enter him for the July. And
Are you a man that takes the prize as well? Because that must...
what Mike says goes. I never argue with trainers, you know. Otherwise, I'd be training horses. I mean, I've had enough. So I said, fine. If you think so, it's 100. I still think it was a masterstroke that the horse, what is his name, won it. Joey Ramsden, the Conglomerate. And Derek Brookman schemed that. They came in with a weight. They took the running up. We came from like 12 lengths off the pace with Mr. Van Niekerk and his inimitable weaving style going up the track. And we almost got up, but we didn't. But I was thrilled with the run. And as you say, next year we came out favourite. We won the drill all. And then we went, did we win? I think we won the drill. And then we ran in the Gold Challenge and ran a shocker, and he went from favourite to 20-1. But he didn't forget to win the July on the most incredible ride by Bernie Fader.
It's my turn, El Sahem, Nightingale, Edict of Nant, Horizon on the outside, Black Arthur, Marinaresco, Crambambuli, El Sahem, it's close, Nightingale, Marinaresco.
Wow, that boy can ride. He's so strong. He just came through. And also from, again, way off the pace. I just saw him coming and I thought, now, how can he get up? He can't get up.
But I was very fortunate. Warren Kennedy was in front of me and he was riding a great race and sort of holding his position the whole time. And I was like, I'm glad I'm not in his position because he was getting nailed on the rail the whole time and I was just getting a free wheel following him around. And then I came into the straight and I was like, you know what, I've got so much horse underneath me, I just need to get a split. And I was just waiting for him to get going and then I gave him a few small little taps in the left and he took off and I was like, oof, I think I'm going to get there. And it was so close, I wasn't too sure. And Simanga said, no, I think you got it. And I was just very happy, it's a relief.
And when they went through the post, I didn't know we had won. I didn't even consider that we'd won. And I said, who won? They said, you won. So there you go. And then we sent him to Dubai with Mike de Kock, where he covered himself in glory. He ran right next to the Melbourne Cup winner in the Gold Cup. We shouldn't have run him in the Stayers race. I believe we should have run him in maybe the duty free or the Shima, but that's all in retrospect, and Mike thought maybe he had a better chance in the Gold Cup, and so that was him. And then we sent him off to Singapore and he chipped there and we brought him home.
You talk about a few individuals there that I really want to pick your brain on. You've given a lot about Mike Bass and your association with that family, but you also brought up Bernard Fade Herb, who I know is still a dear friend to you to this day. Was it always natural that you had become close with a trainer and a jockey the way that you did, or was it just the success that bred success, and from there your association forged into a lifelong friendship with both gentlemen?
I think it's inevitable, I mean, we've had a long relationship, going back 20 years plus now. And Bernie's a hell of a likeable guy. Mike is an incredible person, quiet, thorough gentleman, incredible horseman. He'll be here any minute. We're looking at horses today, as you know, so all the babies and yearlings. So, it's inevitable, I used to spend months in Durban with Mike. And I'd fly up and down for races or work, but we'd share a cottage or apartment for many years in the Durban season. And they were thoroughly enjoyable years.
Hollywood days.
Oh, man. Wow. Mike would play golf, I'd bugger off and have lunch with a few mates and do what I did, go to the casino or whatever. Do a bit of work. Yeah, well, what can I say? Great family, wonderful people. Still, obviously, I have most of my horses with them.
Let's talk a little about breeding. I mean, here we are, the unbelievable Hiamalana, my first visit to David Hepburn Brown's farm. Are all your mares based here? What kind of numbers are we looking at? And why did you get involved in breeding? Because a lot of people, I mean, there are plenty of owners in the game that have decided, right, ownership's for me, I'm not going to go into breeding. Some do and do it successfully, some don't do it successfully. When did breeding sort of become, dare I say, a hobby? Because I guess it has to be.
I think it's inevitable. Anybody who really loves racing and has a number of horses, you have good mares, you think, well, why must I sell them? Because good mares get sold, they don't get given to folk for riding horses and eventing horses and so on. So it's inevitable, and I got involved with Ken and David in breeding when they owned the farm together. I think it was high season. That's where JPEG was bred. It's gone back almost from the beginning, from 95, 6, 7, 1996, and I had a lot of mares with David, probably 40 at one stage. Shares in most of my horses are partners, but in breeding I own about 70% of my mares, and in racing I own about 55%. So I've always got partners, not always, but that I share. And here we are, and currently have, I think, 21 or 22 mares at David, and then another 6 spread around elsewhere. And a couple in Australia. I used to have a lot, but I've toned that down. And it's difficult to breed from afar and enjoy them from afar, just like racing. So I concentrate on South Africa, and David's having immense success, as am I. Normally, or previously, my horses were all in Himmelnaarde's name, but now we've split it and we race together, and obviously you're different entities in the log. But I'll say one thing for David, he's 7th on the log, having the 6 above him are the top 6 studs, and he's 7th, and he's consistently, last year he was also up there, and with half the runners that most of them have had or less. And he's really breeding exceptionally good horses. I'm not just saying that to give him a punt, obviously I am giving him a punt, but he's breeding amazing horses. And yeah, and I'm enjoying it thoroughly. Obviously, we're great mates. I come out here, Corin and I, and we spend a bit of time, and we see a lot of David, yeah.
You've always had an allegiance to racing with partners. So all the horses that you've spoken about, you've raced with partners. And obviously in Cape Racing at the moment, we are trying to boost ownership, stocks, what have you. Has it always been something that you wanted to share experiences with other people? I mean, even today, I open the card and there's Marsh Shirtliff with a few of your close friends. Has that always been your attitude?
I enjoy racing with friends. People approach me. I'm getting a bit old and sort of crotchety now. So I have a number of horses that race straight up, 100%. But I enjoy racing with partners, I really do. And normally with my mates, yeah.
What are your ambitions for the future? Because you don't miss a sale. You're always there. You've got a keen eye for a horse, one of the hard hitters at the sales, and in complexes which obviously have a lot of hard hitters in them. What's next? Are you looking for the next Pocket Power? Are you looking now, hopefully export's going to open up? Are you looking for the next South African flag bearer? Are you looking for the next great mare that's going to produce another Pocket Power? What's making you tick at the moment, and what are your ambitions for the future?
I think all of the above, as mentioned. I'd love to have another horse like Pocket Power. I don't think I'll find another Pocket Power, or JPEG for that matter. But we always live in hope. I'd like to breed a champion. I haven't bred a grade 1 yet, and we've got some grade 1 mares. So yeah, and hoping that there's certainly another nice horse in the offing. I've been a lot more discerning the last 2 years because I had to analyse where we were going, because as I said, the 2020s haven't been too good, and I think I've got a lot of nice babies, and I've got a lot of 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds. So yeah, we hope for the best.
Marsh, thank you so much for your time today. I mean, it's been an absolute pleasure. I've obviously known you for quite a long time, but to sit down around the table and really get to see you almost in your natural habitat, it's been an absolute pleasure. And we thank you for your time out of your busy day, and hopefully you do find that next Pocket Power, breed that grade 1 winner. It's just around the corner. We can chat again about that and add to the story.
I just want to thank Greg Boards and ONF Hollywood for doing what they're doing for racing. I think they've done an unbelievable job. They've refloated a sinking ship, and I can only see that going from strength to strength, and I know what their vision is, and I truly believe they're going to reach that, and we're going to have a lot of fun. And yeah, thank you to you and to Troy. It's been a pleasure being here.
So on that very good note, that's been a little trip down memory lane and hopefully a window into the future. That's another edition of Taking the Reins. We're really looking forward to seeing those white, pink and blue colours in the winner's enclosure during the summer festival. I'm sure there'll be plenty more success to come. Until the next edition of Taking the Reins, we'll see you soon. Goodbye.